that? Just how ready are you to stop planning, stop talking, and start getting to actually manage this team?
Yeah, I mean, we just talked to the guys about it yesterday. We've had good scrimmages in here. We've really gotten after it since the fall, but we are really ready to play somebody in a different color than maroon. So it's time. It's time. I think we've had a really good group of guys, really competitive practices. We've stayed up tempo, dealing with some injuries that we wouldn't, like to ideally be dealing with. But it's time to get outside and let the balls fly.
A lot of turnover on this team from last year.
Yeah.
You also a lot of guys to graduation. Are there some positives with that where you're trying to kind of start some new things?
Yeah, I think in today's college landscape, that's inevitable, right? So what is a lot versus what isn't? We've got some new faces, and I think that's going to be a constant no matter what you do year to year. So enough new faces, obviously new faces on the coaching staff. We've got new faces in our group of guys. But all in all, we've got a really good group here, yeah.
What do your 10 transfers and 7 freshmen bring to the team this season?
Well, there's a lot to go off there. I think in general, they bring a high level of compete tool to the table. When we started building this roster, essentially the day I got the job, that was our number one priority, was finding guys that wanted to compete, guys that weren't scared of getting in the game, guys that wanted the baseball, guys that wanted hard at bats against the best competition in the country, and we've definitely got that. So whether they're freshmen, they're D1 transfers, they're junior college transfers, we've got a Division III transfer on the team, they're all going to contribute in some form or fashion. And the common denominator with all of them is that they love to compete.
What do you want out of this team philosophically? I mean, throw, pitch, catch, short, but
Yeah.
What do you want out of your team? What do you want Ty McDevitt team to be?
It's funny because I've gotten asked that question a lot this week, and I was talking to my wife about it last night, because it's how do you define success this year? And I guess the best way I can summarize it is we got to get back to playing Gopher Baseball the way Gopher Baseball is meant to be played. Well, what does that mean? It means doing the fundamentals right, playing the game the right way, getting on and off the field the right way, taking, good at bats, competitive at bats till the very bitter end. We're going to strike out, but how are we striking out? Are we staying in there and getting our licks? Are we taking good passes at the ball, or are we giving up after we get to 2 strikes? On the mound, throwing strikes, competing over the plate. That's a fundamental of this program for many years, long before I was here. Are we doing that consistently? And then playing defense. We haven't played very good defense the last few years. That's hampered us. You look at our offense stats, you look at our defensive stats, or our pitching stats, our numbers, our wins should be better than they are. And a lot of that comes down to, the defensive side of the baseball. We just have not done a good enough job catching the ball in the air, picking up the ball on the ground, and getting outs. So we got to do that at a lot higher level.
Have you had the moment yet of, you're not an assistant coach anymore? John Anderson, we all love him, but he's not here anymore.
Yeah.
Have you had that moment yet? I mean, is it kind of full swing now?
Not really. I don't. It's just been one thing on to the next, and I think anytime that you have maybe a short burst of reflection, it quickly turns into, all right, we don't have time for that. Let's get on to building a roster, practicing. There's just so much to do. So I'm certain it'll come. Whether it's in the dugout on Friday night or a couple weeks down the line, I have no idea when it'll come. It seems like it's been pretty easy, pretty natural in regards to just the responsibilities and such. So, yeah, I'm certain it'll come. I'll be ready for it, but no, I haven't had it yet.
You got a big stretch of Big Ten games after your road stuff. How important is building momentum with these non-conference games to your team?
Yeah, well, with the new Big Ten schedule and how fast it's happening this year, we've added 2 weekends of games to the Big Ten schedule. So getting after it in our non-conference schedule and being prepared for that is more important than ever. I mean, typically we've had more weekends to prepare, and now you get 3 weekends and you jump right into Big Ten play. And all the games matter. I mean, we're not going to pretend like they don't. But it is nice to be able to go play against some of the better teams, some of the best locations, some hostile environments, all that type of stuff early in the year, just so you know what you got in terms of your roster.
I don't know if there's another sport that the Big Ten expansion made life more difficult than in baseball. Maybe softball.
Yeah.
Do you look forward to that challenge? You will get more top-level competition than maybe you used to in the Big Ten.
Yeah, there's the competition, right? So you're adding 4 teams with, I mean, big time history in recent history too. So that's a piece of it, and then you're adding the coast to coast travel. So again, going back to my kind of initial thought, like we got to get guys who are competitive here that aren't disrupted because they're off sleep schedule or because they've got to travel from Portland to Eugene and back to Portland back home. Those are all frustrations. I don't think anybody likes doing that, but at the end of the day, is it going to hamper you from taking good at bats? Is it going to hamper you from putting your best effort on the field? We can't have guys like that, and I don't think we're worried about it with this group.
Among the returning guys, and I know this is, if you name 2, you'll leave 3 out. If you name 2,
Sure.
you'll leave 6 out. But who are a couple of the guys that you're really hanging your hat on that you need to be leaders for this year?
Well, one of the guys just walked by, Josh Fitzgerald. I mean, I think everything kind of starts and ends with him. He's a senior presence. He's been all over the place. He's played well in our program. He led our team in hitting last year. We're going to look at him at the top of the order to get us started, just on base percentage and finding ways on. And he could leave the ballpark. He can miss balls out. There's plenty of bat speed there, but he does more than that on the baseball field. He goes and gets the ball in center field. He gets hit by pitches. He finds ways on via walk. He can 2K and scrap, at bats out if he needs to. So Joshy's going to be a starter for us. And then, the next 2 guys that we're going to look to are Drew Birkland, who's going to hold down a corner spot for us. He has gotten significantly better in his career so far, and it seems like every day, every week, he just adds another tool to his arsenal, whether it's his ability to go the other way with the baseball, whether it's his maturity and the way he takes plate appearances. So he's going to be an exciting one to follow. And then Weber Niels, he'll be our backstop, starting the season, and he's a guy that has just such good raw power. But when you talk about competitive nature, he is just a competitor through and through, and so he kind of starts that with the rest of the roster.
What's sticking out to you about this Houston team that you got coming up?
Well, it's a hard one to scout for. I think anytime that you start the year, just in general, you don't know what you have. First of all, you got amateur players who get better in the off season. That's what amateur players do. So looking at last year's stats, looking at last year's video, isn't always reflective of the type of guy that you're going to pitch against or hit against this year. And then on top of that, if you study their roster, they've got a handful of returning arms, but very few returning positional guys. They've got really, really, really highly rated junior college transfers coming in. But junior college, video, data, all that type of stuff, it's not as comparable. So at the end of the day, you just don't know exactly what you're walking into, and obviously there's some anxiety that creates, but there's also some excitement too, where we can just roll the balls out and go play.
Thanks, Coach.
It's good.
Go get it.
Awesome. Sounds good.
Brother.
Appreciate it.